But an opportunity came in the midst of all that where I was able to make money. And I remember giving my landlord cash in his hand, like, yeah, I'm the man. I was like, I did this.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Bled to Success podcast, where we bring you insight and guidance from successful Black professionals and students. My name is Selvin, and as always, we appreciate the support. So today we have Marquayla Ellison, who is the owner and graphic designer of Ellastic Designs. So she's going to talk about what her journey looked like getting into this world, not only of graphic design, but entrepreneurship. So it's going to be really cool to kind of see what the past 10 years has looked like for her as she's kind of developed her journey and is continuing to do so. So Marquayla, thanks for joining the show. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for taking the time to meet with us. So we're going to start the show how we always do by asking, who is Marquayla Ellison?
Marquayla is a creative, a Milwaukee proud native. It's hard for me to admit this, but definitely an influencer. And I just love to, be creative and help visualize things, be a big picture, big thinker. And, that's usually what I bring to the table as a collaborator, or that's my usual asset. That's
awesome.
Me.
There you go. So what was the initial motivation to kind of get into the space? Not only just the graphic designing, but eventually, taking that leap and moving forward with your business full time.
Yeah, so I've always been a creative person since I was young, drawing and coloring and arts and crafts and things like that. So I always had that kind of creative touch that, I knew I wanted to do something where I would get to use my creative skills. I went to UW Milwaukee, and I originally was studying architecture. And after not getting into the actual program after the first year, I questioned a little bit. And I by the time it was time to apply again the second time, I had found something that I really enjoyed. I was very active. I always encourage people to be very active. This is very insightful in helping you make choices. But I was president of our architecture group at UWM, and we did a conference about the design of architecture. We had people come and speak, and one of the speakers, I always shout her out because she made me change my major. We had a graphic designer instructor from UWM, Peck School of the Arts, come over and speak. And I was so mind blown. I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. I definitely don't want to do architecture. Like, I knew right away, like I was so sold on it. I'm like, oh, okay, I think I found what I want to do. Architecture is nice. I love art. But I guess I don't really care about structures. Buildings should definitely be safe, but I'm more so concerned about how cute they are. So, that it was nice, and that always has me questioning in general, making sure, kids are really introduced to different career paths. So I wish that was something I would have known earlier, but I decided to switch my major 2 years into being in school. And that was really hard to do because I'm first generation. So, they just want you to graduate. They want you to be successful. And I already gave them this game plan to be an architect. And they're like, graphic design, what is that? I still have to explain what graphic design is to my family. But anywho, I've always been involved again. So I worked at the Black Cultural Center at UWM. I was treasurer for the Black Student Union. And then my friends were involved in other organizations on campus, so the student government. So I was just doing all these flyers for BSU parties and, Black Cultural Program would do programming throughout the year. I was making those flyers and I was just using like PowerPoint Publisher, something where I could like freely put things everywhere. But I saw a need, I'm like, I'm a Zeta, so I'm like, we want these parties popping. I'm like, let me make the flyer because, just slapping some blue up there in the words. We need something a bit more appealing. And so I started feeling that need, and I was just doing it to help out with the things that were important to me. And then people started paying me to do stuff. So my sorors and frat, who were at the time in the graduate chapters, they were paying me to do different things for their businesses, their philanthropic interests, things like that. So yeah, ultimately I came across, I had incident happen in college where I need a lot of money. At the time, I was taking care of my brother. We're about 3 years apart, and I was working two jobs, and I need to come up with money to pay rent. Basically, I got sick and just really fell behind in bills. And my brother wasn't working at that time because he was an athlete, and I was very proud of that. Um, but an opportunity came in the midst of all that where I was able to make money. And I remember giving my landlord cash in his hand, like, yeah, I'm the man. I was like, I did this. And so, I felt so empowered as I've been scrambling with those two other jobs. I was like, this is it. I couldn't find an internship. No one wanted to hire me because I didn't have experience, even though you get an internship to get experience. But people were already believing in me, already paying me to do things. And after seeing how I was able to bounce back from something like that, I was like, okay, I'm done trying to chase these potential employers. I'm just going to do my own thing. And I was raised by a single mom. My mom has always been an entrepreneur. So I've always mocked her as a child. I always thought it'd be cute to have on a suit and have a briefcase and tell people what to do, be the first person to speak. So it was easy for me. Like after seeing the results of what I could do, I'm like, oh, I'll just start a business. It's no problem. And I got the most experience, out of doing that. It's a one-woman show, but I think I'm pretty good at every slice of that pie, finance, marketing, customer service. And, people were asking me to do stuff I didn't even know how to do. And I would just look it up and figure it out. But I was getting more experience than I would have got at most internships and more experience than actual schools giving me. So it was really helping me polish myself at a more professional level at a young age.
Nice, nice. And it took that one adverse moment in your life to really, give you the courage to just kind of jump into it. And, with it being such a high pressure situation, and these days you're making like rent payments or mortgage payments either online or whatever, but just to kind of do it where you've got I don't know if it was like a bag of money or if it was a stack or whatever, but just to kind of present that to them like, here, I got it, it's we're good. They had to feel amazing, and then, all the things that have built up to that with just kind of doing flyers for different organizations. And you're already kind of building those things that you mentioned that you kind of do as a one woman show. I'm sure once you kind of looked at it in hindsight, you're like, okay, I'm already kind of doing the customer service thing. The marketing, that's basically the essence of my job. You're getting all these things just by doing, and like you said, you're doing the research and you're building that experience. So that's a really cool start to to what has kind of developed over the course of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. So now just to transition into the type of work. Now you said that you were starting to just do flyers for different organizations, and I know that your work goes beyond just doing flyers. You're getting into logos and some other things, but why don't you talk about the type of things that you do designs for different organizations and individuals?
Yeah, so I'd say my target audience, and that's the wonderful thing. I'm gonna talk about Milwaukee a lot. NBA champs. Make
Go
sure to get
ahead.
that on the recording. Um, but originally, I started doing mainly flyers. That was the biggest thing. So there, of course, you have designers who have their own niches, either certain industries they focus on, like maybe they only do health and wellness, or maybe they only work with dental companies. But because there's always been a small boom of entrepreneurship here, I end up usually holding people's hands through, what they need for their business, especially those startup phases. So when I say anything a business needs to start their business, of course, the logo, your business cards, your stationery. Now we have social media, so setting up your Facebook page, so providing you with the banner and avatar. Now, I, of course, had to do a pivot with business with COVID-19. I'm like, man, am I going to make flyers? Are there going to be events? Do I need to get a job? But, now I'm designing Zoom backgrounds. Now I'm designing virtual templates for people to keep things on brand as they're presenting online, PowerPoint templates. I do a lot of reports. So usually when I talk to clients, I say two things because design is a lot. Everybody say I do everything, but that's not helpful. Some people need a list. So I'll say anything for print, So whether it's the menu and annual report, flyer, anything like that, and then anything for digital use. So websites, any graphics you would use online, websites, social media, things of that sort. And then I've done some packaging design too, which is a lot of fun. So I've done lip balms and coffees and things of that sort. So there's so much you can get into. I would compare it to, I was a big Grey's Anatomy fan. You know how they have their specialties like trauma and cardio. You can do the same thing with graphic design. I know people only do websites. Some people only do logos. But I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. But specifically, I'm usually connecting with either small businesses and startups or working for nonprofits, people who don't have a in-house graphic designer, but have needs from time to time. So they'll hire me out.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So it's cool to be able to kind of go across different industries and not just be pigeonholed into one type of thing, unless you really want to. If websites is your thing and you just want to run with that, that's cool. But I'm sure with, those instances where you were, you're talking to a client and they were giving you something, and you're like, okay, I know how to do, A, B, I don't know how to do C, but I can look that up. And I'm sure that once you've kind of gotten that and you figured out how you want to visualize that for them, that, now you've added this extra skill to your kind of set. And now you can actually go and do those C's and on a regular basis. So what's been your favorite thing to work on, when it comes to the different type of work?
Yeah. Logos. I think logos have been humbling. They can be kind of hard sometimes. But I think in doing a lot of logos and projects, that's what's built me the most as a graphic designer. It's made me realize, what I'm looking for in a client, what that relationship should be, that trust. It's helped just develop me, like the time it takes me to make a logo now versus 5 years ago, it's different. And just kind of my understanding of what's needed. I have an intern now, so it's been beautiful to kind of realize like, man, I really know what I'm talking about. Like, as I'm kind of teaching him, like,
yeah.
There are these, there's a lot to learn, a lot to do, but, it's a versatile field in that way for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what does a typical day look like for you? And maybe that looks a little bit different now that you have an intern, but what is that, and it could be a typical day or a week. What does that look like for you, now that you're kind of running this ship full time?
Yeah. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about the day, but then it does kind of span out over a week. So one, I'm a pretty involved person, and that's been different with the pandemic, of course. So just kind of getting acclimated to, being a little bit more outdoors and, what is my setup for meeting with clients. But I also like to talk about a little self-care. So no, every morning I usually get up by 4:15 in the morning. I go to the gym by 5 o'clock in the morning. And then I go home and die from working out in the gym for about 45 minutes. And then, I pray, make breakfast, and I'm a big believer in bullet journaling. So I make a list every day. It's kind of like a planner, except it's your to-do list. So reflecting on what I didn't do yesterday, or is there anything I didn't do the last couple of days that I need to shift to a part of my week. So just kind of adjusting and setting my itinerary for the day. What projects do I need to work on? Who do I need to follow up with? What do I need to start? What invoices I need to do? But really, especially Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm setting a tone for the week. So I try to block out time. Usually I have my own rules just to set boundaries. I think setting boundaries at a younger age or younger in business are very important. But, I have rules I usually say no more than 2 meetings in a day, 3, sure. But then that means if I look at my calendar, I at least got 2 days in a week where I don't have any meetings. So finding that balance between meeting time and actual design time to do work. So just making sure I'm like looking at my calendar and saying, okay, I can't take on anymore. Or, I won't be able to attend the social tonight because, I got a couple of things I need to knock out. But really just trying to be realistic about my week and what can be accomplished, what needs to be changed. Because, I usually have a few projects going on at a time. And, chances are they're all going to be a little behind. It's the summer, people are taking vacations. So just trying to make sure that I'm always, looking at the forecast and adjusting. So yeah, usually I just have some music turned on and I work through my emails and work through my list. I just started meeting with clients a little bit in person again, the clients that I've had for a while. Um, what else? And then I have a few meetings, just a few collaborative meetings with clients. Really been enjoying the work I've been doing with the health department. It's been my big baby since the pandemic. Of course, it's an unfortunate situation, but been working with them just to make sure that their marketing and messaging is appealing and attractive to Black and Brown professionals. So there's a lot of consulting that I do where I'm just talking to folks about, how to make things more effective, what'll work, even connecting them to grassroots organizations. But did a lot of work with, we had a free mask program here. So there was marketing all over the city, just to let people know, you don't have to wash your disposable mask, or you don't have to hoard masks, that the city is providing, disposable, reusable ones that you can use. Gosh, yeah. And some days, because I work for myself, some days I have to like stick to one task. So usually my invoices will pile up. So I usually try to do all my invoices one day a week. And then just keep an ongoing list so I can make sure I get them out. But it can be very busy. So I try to keep that list. So, no matter what I do, if I step out for lunch or, there's a chance that a client might call me with a quick adjustment or a last minute project where I need to shift some things around.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like you're naturally adapting to your day and your week and adjusting, which is cool. And one thing I do appreciate is two things actually. So the self-care. So I'm glad that you mentioned that at the very beginning, and that's what starts your day off. So you're preventing that burnout, in any case. And secondly, the boundaries. I remember when we had first reached out before the end of last year, and you're like, you know what, I'm not taking anything else for the rest of the year,
Yeah.
and I really did appreciate that because, you can get swept up and you're doing your own thing. You don't have anybody to report to, and it can be easy just to kind of take on work because, it's there. So it's really good to know that you kind of know where that limit is and you respect that limit, for yourself and for your well-being. And just for the, the other people that you're, working with, because you don't want to take on something and something unfortunate happened that you can't complete it. And now that's, that, potential, burn bridge for the future. So thanks for pointing out those things for you.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up because I definitely was thinking like, I hope he reaches out. I'm like, I hope he don't think I'm a jerk. Because, I was doing a lot of different features and things back then. And again, just having that balance, like I volunteer a lot. So by the holidays, usually every year, I found that out after 3 years, like I get a little burnt out by early November or so. So I was like, that's kind of the natural holiday season. So let me slowly trickle down the things that I do and, plan for next year. But definitely glad you circled back so I could do this for you.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And then so now, any advice that you would give to your former self? So this could be, this could be Marquayla when she was doing two jobs while doing this. This could be before, when she was thinking about architecture. So, at any point, what advice would you give, to that former version of yourself?
Well, I think two things. For the most part, I've always been an extrovert. But I think for me, especially when it comes to business or, academics and stuff like that, the thing that's always gotten me out of my shell is my sincere desire, like for whatever it is I want, as shy or as nervous it is sometimes to say something or ask something, I usually just envision, what I want. Like I want this really bad. So I just need to like muster the strength to just say, can we meet? Can I talk to you? Do you guys need a graphic designer? I like just need to say it. So I've spent most of my life being that way, but I do wish I would have did it a bit earlier. I wish that was encouraged a lot more. We call it shooting our shot now, kind of, not necessarily dating, but just in general in life. We are our biggest advocates for ourselves. We have family, we got friends, and they are great. But the biggest advocate, the biggest cheerleader has to be you. No one knows you like you know yourself. And so, I seriously would envision myself like I'm standing here, but I want to see like another version of me, like watching myself, like just do it, just go, just figure it out, and networking was really tough when I first started because graphic design is predominantly white field. And, I didn't have friends of all the different fields, especially at UW Milwaukee, a lot of people are doing education and social work and business. So usually they would group together and go to events, but I was usually going to stuff by myself. And that bothered me so much when I first started. Like, I don't have anybody like turn to and make a comment, or, I felt very, very alone. And so I remember there was a conference called TypeCon. I'm such a nerd. I met the person who made Cooper Black font. I had lunch with him and his wife, which is one of the most funnest and nerdiest things I've ever done. But it's a conference about typography. And I really had to talk to myself in the mirror one day because I didn't want to go back. Like, I had enjoyed myself, but it was still weird because I didn't have anybody to kind of interact with. I feel like people just kind of went their separate ways or kind of stuck with who they came with. But, I don't have a lot of creative friends, so it's usually just me. But I made myself go back. I figured out what's my end is compliments, hey, nice shirt. So how did you enjoy it? But really push myself. But I always tell that story because I made some really great connections with people all over the world. It was an international conference. I met the guy who does motion graphics or the visuals for Nickelodeon, like the director. And all these people who've made cool fonts that we know, and no one thinks about them. You just select them and write your report. But, there's an artistry behind it. But I had a great experience. And I was like, but this is for me. It's not about somebody didn't come with me or who's going to talk to me. It's about me. It's about my success. And I was really enjoying the conference. So literally it was like a visual of me like pushing myself like, nope, go over there. That's where you want to go. Just be weird. Let it be awkward. You'll figure it out. So I think that would be my advice. And then be okay, especially when you're young, taking risks. The biggest thing, my two big things in my life that I'll never regret is switching my major and starting my business. And I was terrified about both of them and not sure like, oh, this will just be some moment or, I'll figure it out, but hopefully this is the right thing. But, end up being really the right thing. I don't know what I'll be doing now. I'm sure I'll still be happy, but I think I really found my purpose.
Yeah. Avoiding those what if questions, I think, is something that you can thank yourself later for if you're able to take those risks. So that's really good advice. That just reminded me of the meme of the person looking in the mirror and he's like touching the mirror, pointing to himself.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
You better do that. You better go back. So that's awesome. And it's funny, when you mention like the fonts and everything, my go-to is Cambria Math. So that's in my emails. I make that the preset for everything. So that's awesome. Marquayla, how would you define success? What does that exactly look like for you?
Success is definitely local impact for me. I had spoke to some youth a couple months ago, and I was telling them that success to me is like, I'm a visual person, trying to say that success to me is like, a slab of land, just nice grass and valley, but the impact, that I have or the fruits of my labor are going to create this beautiful, lush garden, and I don't know what's going to grow, how big it's going to grow, but I can at least try, you could just get rain every day and eventually some flower probably going to pop up, just because of the way of the world, wind and things like that. But for me, success is seeing the impact. The nonprofits that I help, knowing that they're hiring me to help either highlight some events, some fundraiser, to see that impact, to see people getting excited about a flyer I made, because it sets its own. If I tell you it's a toga party, I got to make sure I come through with them visuals so it's a toga party. I have to bring that appeal. I have to bring that character to things. So aligning that with people's goals, coming up with some visuals that align with what my clients are trying to do, is amazing. And then to turn around and see that impact, I've had so many friends that started their business and I just celebrated 10 years in May. So to see where they are now and that I had a small piece of, contributing to what they're doing, Jaquila, well, she has Ross Financial and I did her logo, with time, I'm always doing these different things, but to see like the impact, to see that they're still out here, see that I'm being helpful. This was great for me. So I guess at the end of the day, I want to look back and have a very lush garden that I made an impact. It's not about the credit, because there are a lot of stuff I've done in Milwaukee, but like to see that those things are making impacts and that I was able to help and contribute to that is really awesome. And I don't know, I just think it's a Milwaukee thing. It's small. But it's beautiful because I do get to see the fruits of my labor.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one thing for the the folks that I talk to who are from Milwaukee, that I feel like that's a common thing, just having impact on the community. Because, and we were talking about this a little bit off air, but having those highlights, specifically with Milwaukee, obviously outside of the championship, and you still want to highlight that because that's super important. But being able to talk about those other things that are good about the city, and then being like you said, an influencer when it comes to that positivity. So that's really awesome to hear. Awesome. So now, just a couple fun questions, just to get to know you a little bit better. What's one thing that you feel like would get your black card revoked? If it was a real thing and people were busting through people's doors and taking their cards away, what would it be for you?
It's funny. I've never told. Well, some people know this, but there was a time in my life where I went to this Catholic school. What grade was that? Seventh grade. So it was just a weird time. My mom moved to a different side of town, and she moved me to that local school. Hated it. I was there for the year, and then she switched me to somewhere else. But while I was there, it was like I was deeply immersed into white culture. Like even when I look back, I'm like, that was crazy, But no, I went through a whole phase where, I had listened to, it's called 103.7 here, Kiss FM, which is mostly like pop music. But, I just thought it was so interesting how you can change someone's like main environment. You spend most of your day at school as a kid, and next thing you know, I'm doing all different types of activities and hanging out, so there is some music, I'm not gonna lie, there is some music that I know word for word, bar for bar. And if you didn't know me, you would definitely question me. Like if race for music, you would look at my catalog like, I don't know what I'm gonna get here. Is this a DJ or what? Like I'm a huge fan of Madonna. I love house music, and there are a few movies I haven't seen that definitely would get my black card revoked. But I've always been more of a creative. When I was young, I never sat in front of a TV, never cared for things that were, I want to say, for lack of better words, inappropriate, So when people talk about CB4 and all those movies, I'm like,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, don't tell nobody else that.
Yeah. No, I can attest to that one. They always put those lists out where it's like 50 movies that are like really for the culture. And I can look at him like, you know what? I've seen like 5 of those, but I'll tell that to myself because I'm not gonna go out and put that out there. So that's awesome. And then finally, with you can go back to your own experience as a student. What do you think is like one rite of passage that all either high school students or college students should go through to get their mark as as a student?
Gosh, well, I think in college, I don't think anybody should struggle. One, as much as we joke about it, but I think that there's definitely something in that grit. There's something there. I remember we had meal plans, but usually I would like just blow that in like 2 months and be like poor for the last month because I've been eating bacon double cheeseburgers with pretzel rolls and everything, and now I'm eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But I think it helps mature you, when you're able to make something out of nothing or to really improvise and, figure out how to do what's best for you. And I don't want to keep calling my mom, about food and stuff. I'm like, I'm responsible. I need to extend my money in some way. So one of my good friends I made in college, I don't know, I think we were just complaining about being broke and I was going to get some bread. And some bread I didn't want. I tried to stick to my Sara Lee, but I had to have the bread that just said bread this day. And I had peanut butter. And I was like, oh, let me scrape some money together. I have to figure out what I'm going to eat. And he had jelly. Seriously, we met because he had jelly and he was hungry too. So we had to like come together with our peanut butter and jelly and scrape together and get this bread. And he's like one of my good friends to this day. But there's just something about, being a young adult and finding your own way. So not that you necessarily need to depend on your parents, but to really revel in the fact that you're young and you need to figure out things and at least attempt to do it and to grow who you are, and what you're really capable of. I think it's just helped me grow faster to try and be a little bit more independent for me. So yeah, I wouldn't steer too far away from that, but to really start planning. This is that made me realize I have to grow up. Like this is the third semester. I done ate through this. I really need to stop. Like, I know it's coming. I need to set a budget, So just really taking those moments to, mature yourself, to pivot, and empower yourself at a young age.
Yeah. There's something special about being in that stage of figuring it out, and you probably don't see it at that point.
Yeah.
But you can look back at that moment where you and your guy came together, and made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when you guys kind of had like half of each of what was needed. And there's something special in looking back at that moment. And okay, it's like, all right, I figured that part out. I was able to get, creative and get through that situation. And that type of mindset does get you through bigger things that'll come along your way. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Marquayla, that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I want to give you an opportunity to share any last words. I know that you have another business that you run as well, so I want to give you that platform to kind of, shout that out, and let people know how they can find more information and reach you as well.
Yeah. So the other business I have, and I'm represent that business as president as well right now, is Social X Milwaukee. It's a young professional consulting group. So we focus on trying to entertain and retain our professionals of color here in the city. And so I guess speaking on that and going back to what I said about being comfortable or being in these spaces where, maybe no one looks like you, or maybe, you don't know anybody. How do you navigate those spaces? Comfort has always just been a big thing for me, and belonging. Even when I used to host house parties in college, how you doing? Come in, take your coat off, what you need. And so I try to do that here in Milwaukee, and that's what we do with Social X. So, we do health and wellness events, professional development, and socials. We have parties. I would encourage people, I travel a lot. I know a lot of cities don't usually have those type of networks. So where there aren't any, just encouraging people to, step out of your comfort zone, and try new things to network and expand who you know. Even if you take on a friend or a buddy and you guys make a thing of it to try new places and really, get acclimated to wherever you're living at. And I guess I'd say come visit Milwaukee too, especially in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I still have to attend Summerfest once, things get a little bit better. I still gotta make it out there. So thanks for sharing. What are the websites for both the businesses so people can check it out?
Yes. So Social X MKE, or that stands for Milwaukee. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, and then we have a website. So it's all Social X MKE for the tag, and then socialxmke.com for the website. And then to follow me, the business is Ellastic Designs with 2 L's. So ELLASTIC Designs. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. And then I also have a website. Perfect. And LinkedIn, you can look me up by my name.
Awesome. We'll make sure to have all of that in the description. So again, thank you for sharing everything. And thanks to everybody who's been watching and listening. You can follow us at Inquire Higher. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can check out our website, inquirehigher.com. And we just opened up our new online community where we're actually trying to bridge the gap between Black students and professionals and provide resources to both groups. So check that out. That's on our website as well. So until next time, peace.